Bronze Age collapse, investigating the mysterious identity of the Sea Peoples, a world on the brink. At the end of the 13th century BCE, the great powers of the Eastern Mediterranean stood at the height of their strength. Vast trade networks connected kingdoms across sea and land. Palaces glittered with bronze weapons, gold ornaments, and diplomatic gifts exchanged between rulers who called each other brother. From the mighty empire of the new kingdom of Egypt to the formidable Hittite Empire, stability seemed unshakable. And then, within a few decades, it all unraveled. Cities burned. Trade routes vanished. Kingdoms disappeared from history. This period, known as the Bronze Age collapse, remains one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world. 2. The interconnected Bronze Age system. The Late Bronze Age was not a collection of isolated civilizations. It was a tightly woven international system. The palatial centers of Mycenaean Greece traded with Egypt, Anatolia, and the Levant. Copper from Cyprus and tin from distant lands combined to produce bronze, the essential metal of war and agriculture. Diplomatic letters, preserved in clay tablets such as the Amarna correspondence, reveal a world bound together by marriage alliances, tribute, and commerce. It was a golden age of connectivity. Yet such interconnectedness also created vulnerability. When one region faltered, the shockwaves traveled far. 3. The sudden wave of destruction. Around 1200 BCE, archaeological layers across the eastern Mediterranean show unmistakable signs of violent destruction. The capital of the Hittites, Hattusa, was abandoned. Mycenaean palaces collapsed. Cities along the Levantine coast were razed. Egyptian inscriptions speak of mysterious invaders arriving from the sea. These attackers came with families, ox carts, and weapons suggesting not mere raiders, but migrating peoples. The Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses III recorded epic battles against these groups in reliefs, carved at Medinet Habu. He called them the Sea Peoples. 4. Who were the Sea Peoples? The term Sea Peoples is a modern label derived from Egyptian records. Inscriptions list names such as the Shurden, Shekelesh, Peliset, Jeker, and Denayan. Their origins remain debated. Some scholars link the Peliset to the Philistines of the southern Levant. Others connect certain groups to displaced Mycenaeans from Greece. Still others propose origins in Anatolia, Sicily, or even the central Mediterranean. Were they a coalition of refugees fleeing famine and drought? A confederation of pirates turned conquerors? Or a symptom, rather than the cause, of a much larger systemic collapse? V. Climate, famine, and earthquake storms. Recent scientific studies suggest that prolonged drought may have destabilized the region in the decades before the collapse. Crop failures would have weakened states dependent on agricultural surplus. Food shortages could trigger migration, rebellion, and war. Evidence of seismic activity, sometimes called an earthquake storm, also appears in archaeological layers across the eastern Mediterranean. A series of major quakes may have devastated already strained cities. In this fragile environment, even a modest invasion could become catastrophic. V. The fall of the Hittites. The once dominant Hittite Empire vanished almost entirely from the historical record. Its capital, Hattusa, was destroyed and abandoned. Trade networks that sustained it collapsed. Without access to resources, including vital metals, the imperial system could not survive. The fall of this Anatolian superpower sent ripples across the region, destabilizing allies and vassals alike. The 7th, Mycenaean Greece in flames. Across the Aegean, the fortified palaces of Mycenaean Greece centers of administration and culture were burned. Writing systems such as Linear B disappeared for centuries. Whether the Sea Peoples directly attacked these sites, or whether internal unrest and economic breakdown caused their downfall, remains uncertain. What is clear is that a complex society fragmented into smaller, less centralized communities. The Greek Dark Age had begun. 8. Egypt's last stand. Unlike many of its neighbors, Egypt survived, though weakened. Under Ramesses III, naval and land battles were fought against invading forces. Temple reliefs depict dramatic scenes: enemy ships tangled in combat, archers firing from fortified riverbanks. Egypt repelled the invasions, but at a cost. Economic strain and internal pressures mounted in the decades that followed. Even victory could not restore the old international order. A systemic collapse. Modern historians increasingly view the Bronze Age collapse not as a single event, but as a perfect storm. Climate change, internal rebellions, disrupted trade, migrations, and warfare combined in a cascading failure. When trade stopped, bronze production faltered. When bronze faltered, military strength weakened. When armies weakened, cities fell. It was a chain reaction in a tightly connected world. The Sea Peoples may have been both perpetrators and victims, participants in a broader wave of displacement triggered by environmental and political. Stressx, the birth of a new age. Out of collapse came transformation. The Iron Age emerged. Smaller kingdoms replaced vast empires. New identities formed in the Levant and Aegean. The world that followed was different, less centralized, but more diverse. In time, new powers would rise from the ruins. The mystery of the Sea Peoples remains unsolved, but their story offers a powerful lesson. Even the most advanced and interconnected civilizations can be fragile. She echoes for the modern world. The Late Bronze Age was a globalized system of trade, diplomacy, and shared technology. Its collapse reminds us how interconnected societies can amplify both prosperity and crisis. When environmental stress, migration, and political instability converge, even mighty empires can fall. The Sea Peoples stand not merely as invaders from the sea, but as symbols of a world in transition, where old structures dissolved and a new era began.